absolutely loved his Cenizas record that came out this year, along with a few other things that were also fantastic. But Cenizas was another one of those records, like Alabaster de Plumes, that was just perfect to lean on those days when 2020 had become just a little too much. Nico also runs the Other People label, a label which decided this year to donate a lot of its profits to charities. So I know for a fact that they donated over 23 grand this year. 14 or so thousand went to causes that support black communities in the US, and the remaining went to COVID relief for undocumented workers in the US, and also to folks in Beirut after the explosion. So noble stuff and amazing tunes. We'll hear that conversation with Nico in a minute. In the meantime, here's a little something from Cenizas.
We were having...
Nicolas Sharp, welcome to the Bandcamp Weekly, and thanks a lot for just tons of amazing music this year.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. As I just told you before, I'm a fan of this show. I'm a fan of all the music that you've been curating, and I'm just honored to be here.
Oh, thanks. That's super nice of you. I was hoping we could start by chatting about Cenizas. It's an album that I read, and correct me if I'm wrong, was recorded in isolation as a way for you to rid yourself of negativity, but that actually was a difficult thing to do. So if that's true, I wondered, how did you feel by the end of the album process? Did making the album help in any way? And how has your sort of feelings and outlook changed since some time has passed since the album's release?
Just as I was starting Cenizas, after I had basically made the song called Cenizas, which is the first song I made off the record in 2017, my life just started just kind of changing very intensely. I stopped doing a lot of things that I was doing in the past, and I moved. I left New York. I moved to Europe. I just ended up in a town where I knew no one and just making music every single day, all the time, on my own, and kind of relearning how to live with myself in a way. And that was just a very, very intense process. It did feel kind of like isolation in the sense that I just lived in a town where I just knew no one at the time, right? And so there was this sense of like, okay, what do I have to do in order to like exist in this weird new reality that I have for some reason created for myself? Now, of course, like fast forward 3 years later or 2 years later, and the album is coming out in like a time that just was forcing me into the similar situation as when I had made the record. And that was it's just the strangest feeling, you know? I guess it was a big relief in a sense to put out the music, because it's probably the most personal in a way, like the most raw stuff that I feel like I've ever done, or that I've allowed myself to put out, you know, because I think a lot of the time earlier in my life, there was this feeling of wanting to give something raw and very like what was very real to me, but at the same time I was always trying to like manicure it, you know, shape it into something that was gonna just, let's put it simply and in a most banal way, into something that would please people. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
I just was like, yeah, I need to, you know, make this a little shorter, make this a little, like, maybe have a thing here, whatever. And I think with this record, I think one of the things that actually isolation before this isolation taught me was just that I just needed to just get rid of that stuff and just like be okay with just being what I just am in the moment that I am it. If that makes any sense, you know? And so it was a relief to just say, okay, you know, this is probably not gonna, you know, be listened to as much as my other work or whatever, but like at least I'm gonna be okay at the end of the day, knowing that I'm doing like, you're getting exactly like what was, you know, what was just happening in the house that day, you know?
Right. Well, you know, ironically, let me read you some of the fan comments on your page, if you don't mind.
Oh, no.
Just a couple. This album helps me. I first heard this record when it came out during lockdown and the world was beginning to fall apart. I wasn't in the mood, but now I am. This album will take you anywhere your mind will allow. And thank you for sharing your soul with us. So, you know, as a listener, and you know, a group of listeners I think I belong to, also looking to escape the negativity, which was pretty difficult this year.
Yes.
I also want to say thank you for making an album, because I think that the album became a great outlet for folks like me and other fans for reflection and or escape. So kind of, you know, and maybe the unintended consequence of your not trying to please people.
Thank you. Yeah, it's intense hearing even you saying those comments. Like, you know, you just never know what people, you know. It's like you throw this thing out and then you just have no idea if anyone even, you know, what people have, you know, what people feel. So it's just heavy and beautiful to hear that. Thank you for sharing that.
somewhat isolated yourself at new surroundings, new city. What about music? Did you turn to music yourself? Did you listen to anything in particular this year, or was that also part of your escape, if you like?
Yeah. So when I moved and my first pre-isolation, I feel like I just spent like 6 months just cooking for myself, because I used to live in a city. Well, I used to live in New York, where you could just go out and buy something to eat. But then I moved somewhere where like I basically just had to go to the market and make myself food, like for every breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But with that, and at first I was like, my overproductive self was like, oh my God, Nico, you're not making any music, you're just cooking all day. But then I actually realized that I was listening to more music than I had ever listened to before, because I was cooking and just listening to music all day. That was the most joyous thing. I mean, it's in a way, because I was on tour for so long before that, I just had forgotten to listen to music as a daily practice. And then again, my pre-isolation brought me to a place where I was like just constantly listening to music, and that was very special.
Yeah, something about cooking and music, right? I don't know.
Oh, it's the best. My God. Yeah.
What instruments you play on the album, and if who else, if anyone, is involved? It's a really fantastic melding of organic and electronic, of sound design, of improvisation, and sometimes it's hard to know, and you don't have to peel back the curtain too far, but
no, I'm happy to do. No one ever asked me any of these things, but I'm happy to talk about it. I actually don't play. I can't really say I play any instrument very well. The thing that I feel like I've spent the most time doing is manipulating badly played instruments on the computer. I feel like I'm actually pretty okay at that.
Right.
But when it comes to actually playing instruments, it's kind of like, and even singing, which I'm terrible at, it's like I always felt like I need to do what's going to be okay as a recording, and then like go off on it like once it enters my computer, and then like I can do whatever I want with it, right? Like just shape it. And so the instruments that I'm playing in Cenizas are like flutes and my bass clarinet, which I really don't know how to play. And I'm singing, and I use my voice a lot and sample it for different things. But yeah, Cenizas, I would say it's more piano, synths, and then bass clarinet and flutes. Yeah, some flutes that I also don't know how to play.
Where's your head at currently with regards to making music? The world obviously remains in flux. Does that muddy the waters for you as an artist, or illuminate a path and provide inspiration?
Since I was 14 or 13 years old, I've been making music every single day of my life. And this year is the first time that I haven't made music for months. I stopped making music like in June or maybe earlier. And even at the beginning of the year, I wasn't making so much. And I'm studying again. Actually, I'm doing a master's. And I went on a month-long walk. And so, in a sense, yeah, I think what this whole situation has done is that it's made me just take a little bit of a distance from music, actually. Like, I meet people and they're like, oh, you must have been working so much to make these 3 records all year, but I didn't make any of them this year, so it's just been a funny thing of like publicly feeling like I've been doing a lot, but actually like on my own private time, I've never been doing less. I mean, in a sense, I've just been like walking and studying.
And maybe gaining inspiration for future recordings. Who knows?
We'll see. Yes.
We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Switching gears a little, moving to your Against All Logic guys, I think If Loving You Is Wrong is one of those great earworms that I couldn't get out of my head this year in the best way. Can you tell us a little bit about putting that track together?
Oh my God. I honestly don't remember. So I don't remember at all. Because when I make the Against All Logic music, that project started out as just I have to, I almost never DJ. I play live, a lot, but I almost never just plainly just DJ, right? I've done maybe 40 DJ gigs in my life, but every single one of those, I've told myself, no, you have to make all the music or all the edits for it. I don't want to just go and play other people's music, because it's just more fun for me to say I want a really fast jungle track that has a really long middle point that goes into something soulful or whatever. I'll just make that. Do you know what I mean? Or I'll just try to make that and then sample a bunch of things in the process. And I think that song must have been made in one of those moments of I had a gig coming up and I just started sampling things. I mean, I honestly, I don't even remember.
Thanks for taking the time, Nico. It's been great to catch up.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Thank you.
Nicolas Jaar there, under his Against All Logic guise, from one of a couple of records under that guise this year, If Loving You Is Wrong.